Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 3, Chapter 30. Towards the end of September, the lumber was brought for the construction of a barn on the Artel land, and the butter was sold and showed a profit. The new administration, on the whole, worked admirably, or at least it seemed so to Levin. But in order to put the theories into a clear light and to view all the different sides of the political economy, he felt that it was necessary to go abroad and to learn from practical observation all that might be of use to him in regard to the relations of the people to the soil. He was only waiting for the delivery of the wheat to get his money and make the journey. But the autumn rains set in, and a part of the wheat and potatoes were not as yet garnered. All work was at a standstill, and it was impossible to deliver the wheat. The roads were impracticable, 2 mills were washed away, and the situation seemed to be growing worse and worse. But on the morning of the 30th of September the sun came out, and Levin, hoping for a change in the weather, sent the prikazchik to the merchant to negotiate for the sale of the wheat. He himself went out for a tour of inspection of the estate in order to make the last remaining arrangements for his journey. Having accomplished all that he wished, he returned at nightfall, wet from the rivulets that trickled down his neck from his leather coat and inside his high boots. But in a happy and animated frame of mind. The storm towards evening had increased, but he put up with all the difficulties of the way, and, under his bashlyk, he felt happy and comfortable. His talks with the peasants over the whole district convinced him that they were beginning to get used to his arrangements. And the old dvornik, at whose house he stopped to get dry, evidently approved of his plan and wanted to join the association for the purchase of cattle. All it requires is obstinate perseverance, and I shall come out of it all right, thought Levin. I'm not working for myself alone, but the question concerns the good of all. The whole way of managing an estate, the condition of all the people, may be changed by it. Instead of misery, universal well-being, contentment. Instead of unfriendliness, agreement and union of interests. In a word, a bloodless revolution, but a mighty revolution, beginning in the little circuit of our district, then reaching the province, Russia, the whole world. The thought is so just that it cannot help being fruitful. This goal is worth working for, and the fact that I, Kostya Levin, my own self, a man who went to a ball in a black necktie and was rejected by a Sherbatsky, a stupid and good-for-nothing, that is neither here nor there. I believe that Franklin felt that he was just such a good-for-nothing, and had just as little faith in himself when he took himself into account. And indeed, he has his Agafya Mikhailovna also, to whom he could confide his secrets. With such thoughts, Levin reached home in the dark. The prikazchik who had been to the merchant came and handed him the money from the sale of the wheat. The agreement with the dvornik was drawn up, and then the prikazchik told how he had seen wheat still standing in the field by the road, while his 160 stacks already brought in were nothing in comparison to what others had. After supper, Levin sat down in his chair as usual with a book, and as he read he began to think of his projected journey, especially in connection with his book. His mind was clear, and his ideas fell naturally into flowing periods which expressed the essence of his thought. This must be written down, he said to himself. He got up to go to his writing table, and Laska, who had been lying at his feet, also got up, and stretching herself, looked at him as though asking where he was going. But he had no time for writing, for the nachalniks came in for their orders, and he had to go to meet them in the anteroom. After giving them their orders, or rather, having made arrangements for their morrow's work, and having received all the muzhiks who came to consult with him, Levin went back to his library and sat down to his work. Laska lay under the table. Agafya Mikhailovna, with her knitting, took her usual place. After writing some time, Levin suddenly arose and began to walk up and down the room. The memory of Kitty and her refusal, and the recent glimpse of her, came before his imagination with extraordinary vividness. Why trouble yourself?" asked Agafya Mikhailovna. "No, why do you stay at home? You'd better go to the warm springs if your mind is made up." "I'm going day after tomorrow, Agafya Mikhailovna, but I had to finish up my business." No, your business indeed. Haven't you given these mushiks enough already? And they say our barin is after some favor with the Tsar. And strange it is. Why do you work so for the mushiks? I'm not working for them. I'm doing for myself. Agafya Mikhailovna knew all the details of Levin's plan, for he had explained them to her, and he had often had discussions with her, but now she entirely misapprehended what he said to her. For your own soul it is certainly important. To think of that is above everything, said she with a sigh. Here is Parfen Denisich. Although he could not read, yet many God give us all to die as he did. They confessed him and gave him extreme unction. I didn't mean that, said he. I mean that I'm working for my own profit. It would be more profitable to me if the mushiks would work better. Da, you will only have your labor for your pains. The lazy will be lazy. When there's a conscience, there will be work. If not, nothing will be done. No, Da, don't you yourself say that Ivan was beginning to look for the cows better? I say this one thing, replied Agafya Mikhailovna, evidently following a thought that was not new to her. You must get married. That's what. Agafya Mikhailovna's observation about the very matter that preoccupied him angered him and insulted him. He frowned, and without replying sat down to his work again. Occasionally he heard the clinking of Agafya Mikhailovna's needles, and remembering that he did not wish to remember, he would frown. At 9 o'clock the sound of bells was heard, and the heavy rumbling of a carriage on the muddy road. No, some visitors coming to see you. You won't be bored any more, said Agafya Mikhailovna, rising and going to the door. But Levin stepped ahead of her. His work did not progress now, and he was glad to see any guest.